Captain Jace Walker stood at the edge of the alien docking bay, staring at the giant silver door in front of him. Behind that door was an alien world unlike any he had visited before. The planet was called Valar 6, home to a powerful, intelligent species known as the Zephyri. They were tall, smooth-skinned, and almost emotionless. Their society was built on logic, not feelings. Jace had been selected by Earth's United Human Command for a special mission, but the details were vague. The message simply said, "Help the Zephyri with repopulation. No combat, no politics, just cooperation." At first, Jace thought it was a joke. A mission about reproduction? That wasn't exactly what he trained for. He was a soldier, not a scientist. But they insisted he was the right choice because of his strong genetic profile, his clean psychological record, and, strangely enough, his emotional intelligence. Now he was here, alone, and the Zephyri were watching him like a lab specimen. A voice echoed through the corridor. Cold and sharp. Human subject Jace Walker. Follow the light. A soft blue beam lit the path ahead. He walked slowly, glancing at the smooth white walls, the humming machines, and cameras tracking his every move. Jace was led into a small room. Inside was one Zephyri female. Tall, silver-blue skin, white eyes without pupils, and a thin, expressionless face. She wore a white coat, like a lab technician. "I am Ilari," she said. "I am your pairing supervisor." "Pairing?" Jace raised an eyebrow. "You are here to help us correct our reproduction crisis. Our population numbers are falling. Our traditional procreation methods have become ineffective." Jace frowned. "So, you want me to help you have kids?" Ilari tilted her head. "Not help us. Help me. You have been assigned to me directly." Jace blinked. "I didn't sign up to be a breeder." "This is not emotional," Ilari said calmly. "You are here for genetic contribution. The process is efficient, clinical. There is no need for attachment." Her words made Jace uneasy. He didn't like being treated like a tool. "I don't work that way," he muttered. She stared at him. "Your emotional resistance is expected. We have studied your species. Emotions often interrupt logic." Jace gave a short laugh. "Maybe that's the problem here. You see intimacy like a machine sees wiring. But for us, it's more." Ilari seemed curious. "Explain." He shook his head. "You wouldn't understand unless you felt it." Silence filled the room. For a moment, neither spoke. Ilari finally nodded. "We will begin genetic extraction tomorrow. You will be scanned and evaluated. The process will be efficient and without discomfort." Jace didn't answer. Instead, he looked at her. Not just her form, but her posture, her tone, her lack of expression. She was beautiful, yes, but cold, like ice sculpted into perfection. Was this how the Zephyri lived? No laughter, no love, just calculation. Back in his quarters, Jace lay on the strange alien bed. The walls glowed softly and strange music played, tones that had no rhythm or soul. He stared at the ceiling and whispered to himself, "Something's not right here." This mission wasn't what he expected. It wasn't war. It wasn't diplomacy. It was something deeper and darker. These aliens had lost more than just the ability to reproduce. They had lost the meaning behind it. And maybe, just maybe, that's why they brought a human like him. Not just for his genes, but for something they no longer understood. Connection. Ilari watched the human from behind the glass wall. He was sitting in his room, slowly turning a silver object in his hand. It was a coin, something he always kept in his pocket. He flipped it, caught it, flipped it again. She had read the human file. Jace Walker, ex-soldier, age 32. Emotionally stable, physically fit, no known diseases, strong reproductive health. But what the report didn't explain was the way his eyes seemed to hold heat, emotion, life. That puzzled her. In her culture, reproduction was a task, efficient, controlled, Bodies were matched through calculations, not desire. Touch was only for purpose, not pleasure. And yet, this human had refused the standard procedure. "I'm not a machine," he had said. Those words stayed with her. Now, she entered the room. Jace looked up. "So, are you here to run more tests?" Ilari stepped closer. "No test today. I've come to understand something." He leaned back. "Oh? What part of me needs understanding now?" Ilari paused. "You reacted strangely to the process. You resisted. You said intimacy means more to your kind." Jace sighed. "It's not strange, it's normal. For us, reproduction is connected to feeling, trust, even love sometimes." "Love?" She echoed the word like it was foreign. "Yes, it's when two people connect deeply, not just with body, but with heart." Ilari looked puzzled. "The heart is an organ," Jace chuckled. "Not that way. I mean, emotions, feelings." She nodded slowly. "We used to have something like that, long ago, before logic ruled everything." "What happened?" he asked. "There were wars," she said. "Too many emotions, too much chaos. Our leaders decided to remove feeling from society. It was considered dangerous." Jace stared at her. "So you erased love just to stay in control?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned away and walked to a panel on the wall. A hologram appeared. Two Zafari, standing side by side, not touching, exchanging genetic data through glowing needles. "This is how we reproduce now," Ilari said. "No contact, no intimacy, just genetic exchange." Jace frowned. "That's not living. That's surviving." She turned to him. "Then show me." He blinked. "What? If emotions are important, if touch has meaning, then show me what that means. I want to understand." Jace stood slowly. "You're not just curious, are you? You feel something, don't you?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I don't know what this feeling is, but I think I want to feel more of it." He took a step closer, careful not to scare her. He gently raised his hand. Ilari looked at it for a long second. Then, slowly, she raised hers too. Their fingers touched, lightly, softly. Ilari gasped. Her breath caught as something warm moved through her body. Not pain, not fear, but a strange electric spark. Jace's voice was soft. "That's human connection. Just the beginning." She looked at their hands, then at his face. "No one has ever touched me like this," she whispered. Jace smiled, but there was something serious in his eyes. "Ilari, this mission isn't about just fixing your numbers. It's about saving something your people forgot. And maybe that starts with you." Suddenly, the lights in the room flashed red. A robotic voice echoed. "Emotional contact detected. Subject, interaction exceeds protocol." Ilari's eyes widened. "They're monitoring everything." Jace looked at the ceiling. "Let them watch. I'm not here to be a lab rat. I'm here to be human." She nodded, eyes glowing softly. "Then maybe I need to remember how to be something more than Zafari." They stood together, hands still joined, and somewhere deep within Ilari, the walls began to crack. Ilari didn't sleep that night. Zafari didn't need sleep like humans did, but they used deep neural rest chambers for recovery. Yet Ilari couldn't relax. Every time she closed her eyes, she remembered Jace's hand. His fingers had been warm, soft, alive. Not like a machine, not like a function, but like comfort. She stood in her private chamber, her palms still tingling from the memory of his touch. Her fingers brushed over her own skin, trying to recreate the feeling. It was impossible. Nothing felt like him. Meanwhile, in his quarters, Jace lay on the strange bed again, staring at the ceiling. But this time he wasn't annoyed or tired. He was curious. Ilari had changed. Something had opened inside her during that small touch. He had seen it in her eyes. She was no longer just a cold alien scientist. She had started to feel. Jace had been on many missions, faced danger, watched entire planets burn, but nothing had ever felt as intense as the silence between him and Ilari after their hands met. It wasn't romance, not yet, but it was something real. The next day, Ilari requested a behavioral observation session with Jace. That was her way of saying she wanted to talk but still keep it within the official system. They met in a circular room surrounded by glowing screens. A low hum filled the air. Jace raised an eyebrow. More tests? No, she said. I want to ask questions about human closeness. He nodded. Go ahead. What is a hug? Jace blinked. Seriously? I found the word in your language files. It seems simple, but it appears often in emotional contexts. Jace stood, walked slowly to her, and opened his arms. This is a hug, he said. Ilari looked uncertain. What does it do? It tells someone, you're safe, you matter, you're not alone. She stepped forward carefully. He wrapped his arms around her gently, his chin resting lightly near her shoulder. Her breath caught again, this time deeper. The contact didn't hurt. It didn't feel wrong. It felt like peace. She didn't know how long they stayed like that, but when she finally stepped back, her body felt lighter. That was powerful, she whispered. That was just a hug, Jace said, smiling. There's more where that came from. Later, that evening, Ilari returned to her lab. She turned off the observation systems and pulled up a restricted archive. Historical Emotions, Pre-Reform. It was a forbidden database. Inside were stories, art, songs, old Zephyri poetry about longing. Music filled with feeling. Images of pairs holding hands beneath glowing trees. Her heart, if she could call it that, ached in a way she didn't understand. Her people hadn't just forgotten love. They had erased it. The next day, Ilari invited Jace again, but not to. A lab this time, she took him to a quiet chamber filled with natural light and soft wind simulation. This is my personal space, she said. No cameras, no monitors. Jace smiled. Finally, privacy. They sat close on a soft bench. She showed him a Zephyri object, a glowing orb that changed colors with touch. She handed it to him. It glowed orange. Then she touched it too. It turned soft pink. Ilari blinked. That's never happened before. Jace grinned. Maybe the orb likes chemistry. She looked at him seriously. Or maybe I do. There was a long silence. Then she asked, Can I try another hug? He didn't answer. He simply opened his arms. She stepped in, and this time her arms went around him too. It wasn't just contact now. It was connection. Something changed inside her in that moment. Not data, not logic. Something human, but far away, deep beneath. The main facility, a cold voice spoke to a dark council. Subject Ilari has begun emotional deviation. Another voice replied, Prepare correction protocol. She must not be allowed to continue. Ilari stood at the edge of the sky bridge that connected the research tower to the old memory archives. The artificial wind pushed her white robe gently, behind her. Below her, the glowing city of Velar 6 stretched in silence, beautiful, perfect, and completely empty of feeling. Once, this place had heart. Now it was a machine that looked like a civilization. She held a hidden tablet in her hand, something ancient, illegal. It contained archived materials from a time before emotion was banned, a time when the Zephyri still danced, sang, and loved. She had felt a glimpse of that, when Jace touched her, when he hugged her, when he looked at her like she was more than a scientist. It was terrifying, it was beautiful, and it was forbidden in The lower control room, silent red symbols pulsed on a black screen. A voice crackled through the dark. Ilaria of Unit 9 is showing signs of emotional corruption. Another voice replied, cold and firm. Begin monitoring all sessions. If deviation continues, initiate memory reset. Understood. The Zafari were not afraid of war. They were afraid of feelings. Jace noticed something different in Ilari that day. Her eyes lingered longer. Her voice carried warmth. She even laughed softly. Something she had never done before, but there was also tension. Something's wrong, he said. She looked away. I have violated protocols. Just by feeling this closeness with you. Can they punish you for that? Yes, she said quietly. Emotions are a threat to order, and you've awakened something they worked hard to bury. Jace stood, his voice serious now. Then why keep meeting me? Why risk it? She looked him in the eyes. Because I want to feel. I want to understand what it means to be alive, not just functioning. He nodded slowly. Then we'll keep going, but on our terms. Later that evening, Ilari snuck Jace into a sealed archive chamber. No watchers, no sensors. Inside were glowing panels of old Zafari poetry and images of pre-reform lovers. One image showed a Zafari male and female standing in the rain, foreheads touching, eyes closed. What are they doing? Ilari asked. Jace smiled. They're sharing a moment. It's silent, but it's full. She looked at the image, then turned to Jace. Will you do that with me? He stepped closer, forehead to forehead, eyes closed. Time seemed to stop. It wasn't physical, it was something deeper. The silence said everything. The next morning, alarms blared through the tower. Unauthorized access detected. Emotional contamination. Alert. Doors locked. Lights flashed. Jace turned to Ilari. They know. She nodded. Run. He grabbed her hand, and she didn't pull away. Together they ran down a hallway as cold voices echoed through the walls. Human subject must be isolated. Ilari is to be corrected. Emotion must be purged. They ducked into a narrow tunnel that led to the maintenance sector, long forgotten, dusty, unused. Ilari panted softly, her calm expression replaced with something new. Fear. I've never run from anything, she whispered. Jace smiled. Then you've never really lived. She looked at him. I don't want to go back to who I was. You won't, he said. Not as long as you keep feeling. Meanwhile, the High Council gathered. Terminate the human. Begin mind reset on Ilari. But one elder hesitated. Her voice was quiet, old, and cracked with memory. Perhaps it is not corruption, she said. Perhaps it is evolution. The others stared in silence. For the first time in decades, a new thought had entered the council. The tunnels beneath the Zafari city were ancient, older than memory, older than control. No cameras, no surveillance, just silence, darkness, and dust. Jace held a small glowing device as they walked. Ilari followed closely, her long white robe, now stained with dust. Her perfect posture had softened. Her voice had quieted. But inside her, storms. She had never felt desire before. Zafari were not built for it. Or rather, they had trained themselves to forget it. But now her mind raced with questions, sensations, longings that had no name in her language. When Jace glanced at her, her skin warmed. When his hand brushed hers in the dark, her breath quickened. It wasn't a program. It wasn't logic. It was desire, and it scared her as much as it thrilled her. They reached a forgotten chamber, a round room with cracked walls, glowing roots, and a broken interface console in the center. Jace dropped the bag and sat down on an old bench. Safe, for now, he said. Ilari remained standing. Her hands trembled slightly. He looked at her. You okay? She nodded slowly. I don't know what's happening to me. He leaned forward. Then let's figure it out, together. Ilari moved to the console, ran her fingers over it. This used to be a mating observatory. Thousands of cycles ago, couples would come here not for reproduction, but for bonding. Jace stood beside her. Why was it shut down? Eliminated, she said, because bonding led to feelings, and feelings led to chaos. He touched her shoulder gently. But you feel now, and you're not falling apart. Her voice was soft. No. I feel more whole than ever. She turned toward him, and for the first time in her entire life, without instruction, without programming, Ilari chose to close the space between them. There, lips met, slow, uncertain, but full of something neither had the words for. She gasped softly as new fire moved through her body. Not just biological response, something far more powerful. Her heart beat faster. Jace's hand found hers, fingers locking naturally. Ilari pulled back, eyes wide. What was that? He smiled. That's what humans call a kiss. It felt like the stars collapsed into me. He laughed softly. Then I must be doing it right. Later, they sat close, side by side, as she asked questions that made Jace pause. What does it mean to want someone? Is it possible to need touch? Why does your heartbeat calm me? Jace answered simply, honestly. Because you're alive now, Ilari. Not just breathing, but living. But far above them, something else had awakened. The council was confused. Their trackers had failed. Their algorithms were useless. The bond between Ilari and the human was changing her neural patterns in ways no one predicted. And worse, those changes were beginning to ripple into the Zafari network. Others were feeling echoes. A technician whispered, "There is a pattern, a signal. It's spreading." The head elder stood. "Then we must act, before the disease becomes a revolution." Back in the hidden chamber, Ilari looked at her own reflection in the cracked glass. "I'm not who I was," she whispered. "No," Jace said. "You're something better." She turned to him. "I want more." He smiled. "Then you'll have it. All of it." But even as they embraced again, neither of them knew. The council had launched a hunter unit, and it was already on its way. The air in the chamber was warm, but Ilari's skin shivered, not from cold, but from clarity. She lay beside Jace on the stone floor, her body still humming from the closeness they had just shared. It had been more than touch, more than science, more than what her people called pairing. It was something deeper. She felt seen. And for the first time in her life, she had chosen to give, not because of duty or protocol, but because she wanted to. Jace turned his head toward her. "You okay?" She nodded. "I feel real." He smiled. "Then you're finally human enough to scare the system." Above them, the hunter unit moved silently across the corridors of the city. It was not made of flesh. It had no heart. Just a single purpose: eliminate deviation. Its sensors locked onto faint energy waves coming from the old bonding chamber. 2 life forms, 1 Zafari, 1 human, target acquired. Back underground, Ilari studied her reflection in a water panel near the chamber wall. Her eyes looked different now, softer, brighter. She turned to Jace. "What we did, it changed something in me." He nodded. "That's because it wasn't just physical. It was emotional. That's what your people forgot." She whispered. "We didn't just forget it, Jace, we feared it." She sat beside him again, hands folded in her lap. "When you touched me before, I thought it was curiosity. But now, I understand." Jace leaned in. "Understand what?" "That this connection, this feeling, is not weakness. It's evolution." He took her hand. "Then let's evolve together." Suddenly, the chamber lights flickered. A cold, metallic hum filled the air. Jace stood up fast. "Did you hear that?" Ilari's face went pale. "No, it's too soon." They found us. A high-pitched shriek echoed through the hallway outside. Run, Jace said, grabbing her hand. They sprinted through the tunnel as heavy mechanical steps thundered behind them. The hunter unit was close, too close. They ducked into a narrow shaft. The machine stormed past, but not without sensing something. Inside the shaft, Ilari gasped for breath. I can't go back, Jace, she whispered. You won't, he said. I won't let them take you. But if they catch us... He held her face between his hands. They won't. Because we're going to show them what they're afraid of. Hours later, they reached an abandoned relay tower near the edge of the city. It still had access to the old communication satellites, ones not monitored by the Council. Ilari plugged in her neural cord. What are you doing? Jace asked. I'm sending a signal, she said. A memory of what we shared, of what I felt. He stepped closer. To who? To everyone. All Zafari. Jace's eyes widened. They'll come after you harder. She nodded. Then let them. But at least, they'll know the truth. She closed her eyes and shared. Across Valar 6, thousands of Zephyri jolted as the neural network flooded with a strange, warm pulse. A memory not their own. Ilari's memory. A kiss. A hug. A whisper. A heartbeat. For a moment, just a second, they felt it too, and something inside them cracked open. Back in the council tower, alarms blared. A technician screamed, "She's broadcasting. Lev emotional data." The elders stood frozen. One whispered, "It's too late." The signal is already inside them. As the sun began to rise, Ilari stood on top of the tower beside Jace. The wind swept her hair back, her eyes glowing softly in the morning light. "Even if they erase me," she said, "they'll never erase this feeling." Jace looked at her with pride. "No," he said, "because now, you're a revolution." And far below them, across the silent city, other Zafari began to remember what it meant to feel. The council chamber stood tall, cold, and ancient, untouched by time, untouched by feeling, until now. The great doors slid open with a deep hiss, and Ilari stepped inside. Alone. No guards, no machines, no fear. She wore no armor, no lab coat, just a simple gray robe, and the memory of every touch, every feeling, every heartbeat she had shared with Jace. At her back, a silent city watched from hidden screens. Thousands of Zafari tuned in to see what would happen. A scientist had become a rebel, and that rebel had become a spark. The High Elder rose slowly. "Ilari of Unit 9, he said coldly, "you have violated core protocols. Emotional deviation, unauthorized human contact, network contamination. Do you deny it?" Ilari stood tall. "No, I embrace it." Gasps echoed through the room. "I was your perfect model," she continued. "I followed logic. I lived without touch, without connection. I lived without life." She pointed to her own chest. "Then I met a human. I didn't just learn biology. I felt something deeper. Something we once had but erased." The elder frowned. "Emotion caused war. It broke our unity." "No," Ilari said. "Suppressing emotion did. You broke our evolution. You turned us into machines." In the shadows above the chamber, Jace watched silently through a visor feed. He wanted to run to her side, but this was her moment. She had chosen to stand here not as a human's partner, but as a Zephyri who remembered what it meant to be alive. Another elder spoke. "You have infected the network. Thousands now experience emotional signals. You've caused disruption." "I've caused awakening," Ilari replied. "You can silence me, but you cannot unfeel what they now know. What I know." She stepped closer. "I used to think connection was weakness, but now I see it's our greatest strength. Even science needs heart. Even logic needs hope." The room fell silent. No one moved, until the oldest elder, the one who had remained quiet all along, finally rose. Her voice was like soft dust in time. "I remember, once, I felt love. The chamber froze. She turned to the council. And I remember the day we gave it up. It was not victory. It was fear. Her pale hand reached forward, trembling. Ilari is not a threat. She is a mirror of what we lost. Outside, across the city, Safari stood in their homes, their labs, their towers. Some held hands. Others wept without knowing why. The signal had done more than show them a kiss or a hug. It had reawakened them. The High Elder stood silently for a long moment. Then, without speaking, he turned his back. Judgment withheld. Ilari walked out of the chamber free. At the tower roof, Jace waited. When he saw her step into the light, he smiled, wide and real. "You did it," he said. She walked to him, calm and proud. "No, we did." He held her hand, and she held his, not because she was assigned to, but because she chose to. In the days that followed, Zephyri cities changed. The pairing centers were shut down, bonding sanctuaries were opened again, music returned. Laughter echoed in places once filled with silence, and in the archives a new story was added. The human who taught us how to feel again. Some said Ilari was a rebel. Others called her the first true Zephyri in generations. But to Jace, she was something else entirely, not an experiment, not a mission, but the beginning of something beautiful.